Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of the Devil. Last part, we had things calm down. Basically, they have issued a media, basically a blackout to keep anyone from knowing that there was a shooter in the courtroom, because that feed was cut off just in time. But yeah, they've issued a blackout. They're gonna try to keep that information on the download. Had a chance to talk to Daimani again, and kind of speculated what we could about Chopin and why he would even have connections to the Blue Bloods, and the conclusion that, at least the theory we've come down to, is that he is that heir that can get all that money that no one else can. Basically, I believe that's what that was. Yeah, he's possibly one of the remaining, younger generations from that massacre. So, yeah. Where we're going now, I don't remember. But let's just get back into it. We had a bit of a cooldown part after the last bit. Oh, right. I think we made it back to I think we're back at the crime scene, because this looks... That neon sign looks like lower ward-ish. And Reyes, so we're probably at the crime scene again. Oh, that's right, we asked about host clubs. What the hell's that supposed to mean? Just what I said. You can't enter the crime scene until you pass our security clearances. Got to be. You're a drug-pushing lowlife. Why do I need your permission to go anywhere? I take offense to that. I've never worked in pharma. Come on, it's not the time to be a smartass. Reyes, it only took 30 seconds. You're serious? This is reality? The city's expecting Blue Bloods to keep a crime scene secure. They're the ones committing the goddamn crimes. If that's your criteria, half the police force should be disqualified. Or is excessive force not a real crime? Are battered spouses not real victims? Guess assault's only assault when it's a real person on the receiving end. Zionus is legitimate, Reyes. All the paperwork's in order and signed by our bosses. These idiots are walking around barehanded and knocking shit over and leaving trash all over the goddamn place. Should we give them badges while we're at it? Let them investigate crimes too? We already investigate crimes. You have any idea how many missing teens there are in the lower wards? No, because we find them. Because we actually give a shit about the people who live down here. Oh, and I'm sure your prices are very generous. Better their parents get a bill from us than a letter of condolences from you. So sorry, man, but he looked suspicious as he was running away. Han, not helping. Reyes, let's calm down. Sorry that I'm not calm when we got actual orcas stomping all over the scene where a cop was murdered. Last I counted, there were 5 bodies upstairs. Are both your eyes broken, or do you just not recognize anyone without a badge as human? Perhaps we came at a bad time. Dude. Sorry, that whole argument's so good. Because the people are only mad that Sosuke, quote-unquote, killed the cop. They're not worried about the other 4 charges. They're more pissed off that a cop is dead. Nothing for it. Gotta strike while the iron's hot. The iron seems really hot in this instance, Adonai. Sorry to interrupt, folks. Don't mind me, I'll just go take another look upstairs. Now you? Hey, why not? You nearly died once already today. Why not let these orcas give you the tour? Is that you giving me permission? No. You in London should be at the goddamn hospital or whatever getting debriefed. She doesn't need your permission. She has mine. Ma'am, you can go right ahead upstairs. Talk over me again, I'll break your fingers. Is that ad recording right now? That sounded like a threat. You want to hear a threat? Clearly, this isn't gonna work. So Han, why don't you head upstairs and wait for Morgan? I'll take orders from you. Who do you take orders from? Want me to give them a call? Let them know you're going around kicking hornets' nests and scratching your heads over everyone's getting every... Oh. Let them know you're going around kicking hornets' nests and scratching your head over why everyone's getting stung. Whatever. Think you could just walk away while after the shit you said? Turn around and take a walk, sunshine. London, if you think for even one... I'm not kidding, Vera. Take a walk. Forget it. And I'll go to hell for all I care. Oh, no, not you. God's sake. Sorry about the bad timing. No, that was gonna blow up no matter what. Situations like this require compromise, and Reyes is... uncompromising? At least you're around to balance her out. You might be the most compromised cop I've ever met. That was not a very nice thing to say. And it shows that you haven't met that many cops. I'm surprised you're still walking around here after what happened in the courtroom. Oh, Brenson? The Bluebloods are a big organization, and Brenson was pretty firmly on the other side. Gals like Han who work in the gray areas might as well live in a different world. If you say so. I just didn't think the Mafia would allow the death of one of their own to go unanswered. They sent him into a courtroom packed with police with a modded arm that only had one shot. I don't think they're surprised he didn't make it back. Will Detective Reyes be alright? She seemed angry. More so than usual. Yeah, she'll be alright. Blowing up, yelling, cursing, that's nothing. Practically healthy. It's the ones who go quiet you gotta worry about. What brings you here anyway? We're pursuing leads. Sounds serious. Ooh. Let's ask some questions. Anyone go digging into Chopin after my implications earlier today? Lady Rockbird would probably take it seriously, if only to cross it off the list, but other than her, I think he mostly just pissed people off. Lucky for you, I was able to convince some techs to confirm your soundproof Windows theory, but don't expect to be welcome at City Hall anytime soon. Hadn't counted on it. Whatever else he's innocent of, Chopin did get here before anyone else, and no one knows how. Look, if he really did get some kind of coded message or secret text, there's no trace of it in any comms log on his personal devices. And did it come from any of the tech we've examined on site? Have you found any secret passages on the premises? I'm afraid not, little lady. But maybe you'll have better luck than me. Secret passages? In what world? I don't know. Anytime they bring up something really small like this, especially if it's like Sarah joking about it, I'm gonna take it into consideration. They did the same thing last episode with the salt. The salt got tipped over and she kept going, the salt, and it turned out to be the most important piece of evidence in the entire episode. So I'm not gonna completely mark off a hidden passage. That's something I'm starting to pick up. They will say something really small, and it gets brushed off really fast. And it turns out to be exactly what we need. So I've been taking into consideration specific things. Something I've been thinking about is that missing knife. She's brought it up a few times. Missing knife. the sword getting stuck is also weird, because the only way that would get stuck... Because they're like, oh, he probably just fell and it got stuck. No, I think he was already on the ground. And then he was stabbed? I don't know, we gotta look things over again. Was that your whole story back in the courtroom? You and Reyes happened to be in the area? If you don't want to take my word for it, Reyes will tell you the same thing. Does it seem like she'd want to talk to Adonai at the moment? You can tell me exactly what you two saw when you arrived. The 10999 went out at around 10:15 p.m. telling us that Chopin's heart had stopped. So we dashed across the street to an elevator. We were descending at 10:17 p.m. when Rogers reported that he was dead. At 10:21 p.m. we approached from the front of the building, saw the door ajar, lock blown in. Then Sunshine and I started clearing the first floor. You didn't hurry up to the third floor, where the dead cop was. Like I testified, Chopin had flatlined, and his own partner had confirmed it was no false alarm. We knew we couldn't do anything for him. Rogers had already apprehended the suspect, so SOP is we focus on securing the area and clearing the premises. SOP, I might be stupid. How level-headed. So, the Officer Rogers we saw in the court today really did take Sasuke down all by himself. Yeah, charged in and pistol-whipped him right in the head. I assumed he found that the first floor was, in fact, clear. Yeah, all these vaults were empty. He didn't wait for Cyanus to show up with the spare keys. Surprised he didn't throw your back out kicking down doors. Sunshine helped. Besides, they weren't all locked. They weren't. Yeah, I remembered that. That one right there was unlocked, room 107. Nothing inside there either, though. Guess the Blue Bloods missed a lock on a nightly roundup or something. Cyanus has unlocked every door in the building at this point. But when I first walked down this hall and when I walked out the front door later, how did this hall look then? I'm trying... Shit, I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look back at footage, maybe. If you do manage to find some kind of silent alarm, I'll be impressed. If you prove that Chopin was dirty, I'll be floored. But even then, how the hell are you gonna convince a jury that anyone other than Sosuke killed him? That would be difficult, without accounting for the 4 dead Blue Bloods as well. But if you take it all in as one set, it starts seeming plausible as an internal issue, don't you think? What are you... You want to pitch this as the young bloods and old guards going at it? Over what? The juicy bait that Chopin literally died over. Proposition 492. That's... What's there to disagree about? The project would put money in everyone's pockets. If my theory's correct and Chopin was killed because the young bloods didn't want the old guard abandoning them. The old guard have already hedged their bets on the little lord returning. Does that mean the Red Ink plan to profit off the Prop 492 were a Youngblood conspiracy? The plans... Did I don't know, I felt like I read something weird, but I don't think I did. These papers were tucked inside Creek's safe before I arrived. Well, good hunting. You won't be joining us? Not this time, I gotta go pump the brakes on Sunshine before she finds a bar. Try not to piss off the Blue Bloods with any more wild accusations while I'm gone. I would never. Take care. And that goes doubly for you, Sparky. What does Sparky mean, by the way? It's a nickname, because you're so bright. A nickname? But I guess people are always calling you ads whatever they like, huh? Sorry, should have asked first. What do you mean? I'll just call you Sarah. But... my nickname. Gave it to me. You can't just take it back. Well, okay then, Sparky. What the hell, did you hate Spearmint that much? That is, I would never want to seem ungrateful. Seems like the smell's starting to fade. Barely even the memory of blood now that there's so many feet have trodden through here. Nothing lasts forever. Miss Han? What? No, I already called you this morning. No, they're not. No, they're not. You're being paranoid. Yes, I'm sure. Yes, I'll call you tonight. My. Didn't mean to interrupt another lover's quarrel. What? Oh, no, that was... Dementia meds aren't working. I get confused this time of day. Sorry. Forget it. That's what I'm gonna do. Just gonna turn my phone off for a minute and forget. Cute android, by the way. So, what's up? There's a couple of ways of going about this, but none of them are surefire. Might as well start out big and see if there's anything into this theory. Do the Bluebloods use silent alarms? Yeah, of course. Thank you for telling us. Sure. I'm actually gonna need a bit more information than that, Miss Han. It's just Han. Did Creek have a silent alarm? She's hesitating all of a sudden. Is she unsure of the answer, or did she just give her first answer without thinking about where it would lead? Nothing like that installed in the building. Arcs would have chewed it up and spat it out by now. The Arcs is not flawless. It can miss things. Look, you've seen the level of tech we Blue Bloods have. It's secure, but it ain't subtle. True. An Orca-run security firm won't have quite as much luck hiding their subsystems from the police as David Asher did, Sarah. But the Arcs can miss things that aren't tech at all. A silent alarm that's analog. Let me know if you figure that one out. Either alarm is analog and loud, or digital and silent. They don't mix. She's offensive, but her logic is sound. Approaching it from the other angle, then. How could an analog silent alarm possibly function? A literal alarm, but one that can't be heard under normal circumstances. What a horrible smell in here. Like a dog whistle. You once bragged to me about your sense of smell. I don't think I was bragging. But I've sworn you puffed your chest out at the time. Doesn't matter. If I asked you to sniff something out, would you find it? What would you like me to look for? I still don't have a clear picture of what happened after I left, but there's one thing I know should be here that hasn't turned up once yet. The knife, there it is. Hold on, let me save. There it is. I keep bringing it up that we don't have that knife. Right, I'm the only one who knows about the knife. And while I don't know where it went, I do know it had plenty of blood on it when I last saw it. I want you to smell for blood. I don't know, do you really need me to help you find blood in here? I'm not asking you to sniff in here. I want you to smell out the window. I'll try. There are many strong smells in this part of the city, Adonai. But there is something truly unpleasant as well. Something beneath this fire escape. Okay. Now go fetch. You could ask nicely. Oh, wait, Sarah. Yes? It's a very old rusted fire escape. Take the stairs. You're too heavy. As you command, Adonai. One instant. Several minutes later, Sarah returned, looking worse for wear and seemingly in a bad mood. Did the weight comment bother her that much? Adonai, I do not like digging through trash. It is not a dignified way to investigate. Digging in people's trash is the basis of all good investigation. The dumpster? See, I'm telling you, they like to point out something really small. Because we joked about the dumpster really early. That was a whole bit. Easy for you to say when you weren't wearing all white. Did you find something? Yes. my knife and it's charred? Oh, that's interesting. I found it amongst the ashes of a blackened steel drum below this fire escape. Oh, so not the dumpster, but it was still discarded and trash. It seems to have been the site of a fire. It sounds familiar. Was there a barrel burning in the alley when I first scoped the place out? There were signs of a chemical fire retardant being applied to the barrel. Police must have put the fire out when they first secured the scene. Meaning the knife wasn't in a fire all night, but still. But still, why would anyone try to burn it? Why remove it? Period. It does indeed appear to be blood on this knife, Adonai. So how did both the police and Cyanus miss it? Their noses aren't as good as yours, evidently. That is true. But they have drones and dogs for this kind of thing. Yeah, but they have to actually use them. They'd have no reason to search the vicinity for a bloody knife if they found a sword sticking out of a corpse midsection. Shall we ask the police to check for fingerprints? Fingerprints are mostly oil and sweat. Fire evaporates them both. Then we have to test and see whose blood is on that knife. But DNA is damaged by heat as well. You know, before DNA analysis, blood had another forensic use. You mean blood typing? The blood on a knife might be too damaged, but modern analytical tools should be able to at least identify blood typing. That could work, Adonai. Great. You gotta ask her to do it? Ready to get started? Pardon? You were capable of recognizing my DNA, weren't you? When we first met, yes, but... So why don't you try your hand at analyzing blood type? It's gotta be simpler, right? It might be, but I'm not to analyze the blood on this knife. I would have to use my pretend it's a lollipop or something. It's blood. Well done. Well done, blood. It tastes like beef. You don't know what human blood tastes like. Of course I don't. Look, the fire sanitized it. Probably. Just get it over with. I will reference this incident the next time we discuss raises, Adonai. Fine by me. That's never happening. Analyze the blood! Why is there a whole cutscene? Analyzing profile. So what have you got? There is blood from more than one person present. Mostly B negative, I believe, with some AB negative around the tip. Alright, now I can cross-reference that with the rest of the data I have. Oh wait, we can, I think. O negative. B negative. That would explain that first blood type, because that was who we used the knife on. A negative. O positive. Where is he? A plus. Huh. I said AB negative. So who else has AB negative? Plus... It's not her. She hasn't been here. A negative. O positive. AB negative. You can't tell, but I'm just... Motherfucker. There's nobody. There is Sosuke. There is that. So our AB negatives are Sosuke, Rogers, and our mentor, but we could kind of mark one of those out. It being Roger's blood would be weird, though. But it being Sosuke's blood is a little weirder. Well, I guess we did. No, we didn't give him the knife. You know what? Let's keep going. I'm like hitting something, but I'm not hitting something. So let's just. All right. Thank you for the report, sir. You've given me a new lead to follow. Yes, hadn't I? And you just made your first forensics contribution to an ongoing criminal investigation. How many androids can say that? Now, come on. We've got some boxes to tick. Oh. Is this evidence? It's a piece of crap some crime scene tech left behind. Nothing relevant about it. Yes, you're right. It's just displaying a news article that they must have been reading. Apparently, they've arrested the Heartbreak Killer. This is copycat. Yes, the Heartbreak Killer's copycat, and it seems... Just let me skim it for myself. Right. Suspected Heartbreak copycat foiled, arrested. An individual suspected of planning an act of terror has been arrested thanks to quick responses from local police and well-coordinated efforts from state investigators. The suspect, whose identifying information has not been released to the public, was apprehended by officers seemingly in the midst of preparing their attack, having already loaded a firearm and several magazines of ammunition into their vehicle. Police have not commented on whether the firearm in question was properly tagged, but insiders with close ties to the investigation claim that the weapon itself was not what led to the arrest. We identified a troubling pattern of net activity in the days leading up to the arrest concerning searches and attempts to access old net portals. The suspect had already been in our radar by that point, so when they posted their manifesto, we were able to quickly secure a warrant for their arrest. The alleged manifesto in question consists of what was, at the time, a publicly accessible online document praising Heartbreak's hardline stance against neoliberal corporate soft power, and listing a number of complaints and criticisms against the recent business decisions made by Hanami Robotics. Most notably, an announcement made on their last earnings call that they would begin moving manufacturing jobs offshore. While the decision landed Hanami in some controversy at the time, their stock prices steadily increased in days after, reflecting optimism among shareholders that Hanami lucrative product lines of mostly heavy construction robots would no longer be strictly tied to national politics. When the arrest was first made, no clear connection between the individual and Hanami was apparent, but Hanami's CFO has since been seen speaking at an investor conference at a hotel within 50 kilometers of the suspect's residence, suggesting a possible target. The takeaway here is that terrorist acts like this one are easily caught, easily prevented, and there's no standing risk to the public, said lead investigator Kennings in his official statement to the press. To any dissidents out there thinking they're the next Heartbreak, just because you bought a gun, you'll be caught. You'll be prosecuted, and your hero won't be far behind. Update. Hanami Robotics has yet to respond to requests for comment, but their official social media accounts have released simultaneous statements denouncing in the strongest terms rising violence and thanking investigators for their swift and decisive action. We have also learned that a select portion of shareholders have received messages clarifying Hanami global market strategies and reaffirming their commitment to their workers as well as their customers and shareholders. Whether this is an indication of a rehearsal of their decision to relocate manufacturing jobs overseas, like what you're reading, does it change how you feel about Hanami Robotics? What if you could have access to stories like this hours or even days before the rest of the public. With the Premier account, you'll have access to all our updates on the business world as soon as they hit our desk. Remember, that's not insider trading, that's forerunner trading. A TM. Dude, I love when games give you decisions like these. There's nothing kind of like chilling about them. Let me click the one that's different. Seems like heartbreak isn't going away no matter what happened to the original. So it would seem. Yeah. Like her whole it's just not going away. Our client Sosuke, according to Rogers, this is how he found him. Thrusting the sword into Chopin. Merely trying to retrieve it. Oh wait, was one of those Morgan? Yeah, thrusting the sword into Chopin. Or merely trying to retrieve it. Not a huge improvement there. He really was found in a terrible state, wasn't he? And that was before the police gave him his cop-killing welcoming, and... Sarah, bring up the medical files at Sosuke. I'm gonna go over everything we know about how he looked when Rogers arrested him. What specifically? Blood analysis or wound patterns? I'll save. Just in case I can't get the other. He was covered in blood, right? Were samples taken from analysis? The blood on his torso and head was all his own. He got some of Chopin's blood on him while he was face down being cuffed by Officer Rogers. And he also had a great deal of Trey's blood on his feet and pants legs. Okay, we can ask both. How exactly was he injured? His left hand was broken, he had internal bleeding throughout his torso, bruising and rope burns on his wrist where he was bound, contusions all over his interior side of his body, and he also sustained a large blunt force trauma wound on the back of his head, to where he was pistol whipped. His biggest wound was to the back of the head. Guess if he fell backwards to the ground. There's also a small cut on his left hand. That would explain... A small cut on his left hand would explain... If the blood on the knife is his, that would explain that. How small? As if he cut himself in the kitchen. Okay. So why would that be? And the left hand was the one that was broken, right? Okay, that's something to keep in mind for later. I was expecting a metaphor there, but it's effective enough. Any other questions about our client's arrest on night? Not unless there are some crime scene photos you've been holding out on me. I'm afraid not. How's it that I'm the only one who made an effort to preserve the crime scene? Okay. Ready protocol designed to make data difficult to physically redistribute. Can anyone just take out their phone and snap a picture of the pages? It seems that some of the responding officers attempted to. Garrick showed that they failed. That's some fancy ink. What do you see when you look at the pages then? No more detail than you do, I'm afraid. Strange, isn't it? They went to so much lengths to protect this information. And yet these papers were left out where Officer Chopin or anyone could read them. They weren't left there by Krieg. I took documents out of his safe so I could reach the mask. And I must have left them out on the desk afterwards. So this is where they found Krieg's body. He was the only one who didn't die instantly if anyone had a chance to use a silent alarm. No, he must have been paralyzed in between the time he was shot and his actual expiration. They weren't paralyzed. What do you mean? If they had been paralyzed, Yumi would have noted that in her autopsy. That's true. But he just sat there limp the whole time, didn't even try to move. Was he was plain dead? letting me think he couldn't move so I wouldn't notice his... Was anything found in his hands? Anything at all? It doesn't seem like it. They weren't holding something by the time their body got to the morgue. What about the thing on his neck? If he had been holding something but dropped it when he died. Help me look. For what? Anything small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Hang on, what's this? What was that? Did you just jump? I was really surprised by that sound, hadn't I? What sound? I just brushed against this little toy thing. You can hear it? I can. It's not exactly pleasant on the ears. I'll look at something. Wait, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? That's definitely a whistle. How would he hear it? Can any android hear it, or is this some special feature David gave you? I'd imagine any android or robot or electronic device with modern features could pick up this tone. Device. Maybe I should close the windows before I test it anymore and stop torturing all the dogs in the neighborhood. Closing the window would not matter. It's soundproof, though. But the specific frequency of this tone is not in your audible spectrum to begin with. Right. There's our... That's how he knew how to get there. Oh, well, that's part of it, at least. But do you really think Creek was toying with that nuisance maker in their final moments? Tan. Supposedly, he was the first to die. Logically, he had to have been. He's the one who had the gun. If an attacker got it away from him, they must have done so first. Yes, I could see that the gun is registered to him. Right, registered. Who the hell would look at this guy with that gun and just nod him along? Patrol officers TC and HR 1 week ago. TC and HR? Rick Chopin and Huey Rogers? The batch numbers match. Seems like they detained Tan briefly during a stop and frisk and found this gun on him. Finding a gun like this on anyone during a stop and frisk. At the very minimum, that's the ground for 28 days detainment. Why'd they just let him go? Is it possible that he was a criminal informant? If he was a CI, they wouldn't have even logged the incident. Besides, patrol officers don't have their own CIs. Then perhaps they let him go for some other reason. Because they'd already gotten what they wanted from him. Make sure to copy the file of that stop and frisk report. Right away. That about wraps it up here. Miss Han, since Cyan is technically in charge of securing the crime scene, what should we do with this? Do with what? On9, please refrain from pressing that button any more than necessary. Oh, but her phone went off. It caused her phone to go off. Sorry, Sarah, I can see you don't like it. But Miss Han's phone doesn't seem to like it either. It's just Han. And I don't know what you're talking about. I get messages all the time. God, ma'am, if you could please just admit it so she stops pressing that. Fine. Whatever, yes, you found one of our alarms. Pretty clever system. Ah, so that means that Chopin possibly had an alarm in his phone. Not really, it's just an app. Okay, so it's an app. You set the frequency and get a notif if the app picks it up. The range? A couple kilometers. Thanks for clearing that up. Well, I have you here, though. Exactly how fast did you show up to the scene of the crime? Pardon? This is a blue blood neighborhood. Do you really expect people to believe the cops lumbered their way here faster than any of you could? What exactly you're trying to say? Yeah, I'm tuned to that frequency. But I'm tuned to a lot of frequencies. It's a good way of communicating without the Megs or the pigs listening in. So you didn't get this alarm the night of the incident? Didn't even know it went off that night. You got proof it did? Can you explain how else Officer Chopin could have gotten here? Nah, not my job to. Not my job to either. It is your job to come to a fellow Blue Blood's aid when they're just desperately calling for help. I didn't know Creek like that. I didn't say Creek was the one who had this. I saw where you were poking around and they're the head of the pod. I assumed. Creek's a stranger to me. Even though you're both young bloods. What? I'm guessing that's what the tattoo means. Neither of you make much effort to hide it. It is plainly visible, even in their autopsy photos. Oh yeah! I didn't even clock that. Yeah, they're upside down like blood droplets. Oh, I didn't even realize pronouns were any. That make I was wondering. I'm like, did I miss? Is Morgan misgendering them? No, just Sarah's just using any. Yeah, they both have the tattoos. I like noticed her tattoos and just didn't think about it. Yeah. You have no idea what this ink means. Would you tell us what it means? Blood bag. What? The old guard use you as donors? Gangsters live a life of drugs, smoking, drinking, and back alley mods. Then end up with livers and kidneys that look like charred steak. Who could have guessed? Got no children because the Ikaria killed them all. Can't get on the donor list because they're geriatrics. They're geriatric reviled crime lords. So what did they do? Hey kid, want to be a gangster? Let me see if you got what it takes. Hold still while I prick your finger. They tattooed our torsos. As even if you mod off all of your limbs, you still pump clean plasma. Every drop, an indicator of quality. I'm a universal donor, so I've got 3. Ah, Creek also has 3. Yeah, because you're O negatives. You have Han in here? Yeah, O negatives. Just like clingy types, jealous types. Needles is interesting. So we gotta consider blood as an important part of this case. I mean, to be honest, that has been a bit of a theme. AAA graded, just like me. And Creek? Save it for the trial, lady. Are we done here, you think? Not quite. And his argument is that Sosuke didn't escape from here. He was brought out to the other room to be questioned, and then he broke free. I know that's not true. Sosuke would have been stuck here until the police arrived if I hadn't handed him the magus to, well, frame him. And the knife, also to frame him. But secondarily so that he could cut himself free from his bindings. This bloody rags there? Remember what Sosuke told us when we first met? That he was bound in here the whole time until his bad Samaritan came along? He gave him a knife. Now we know what knife he was talking about. And now I want to know whose blood this is. Blood on the bindings? It would have to belong to Sosuke, wouldn't it? All the other bodily fluids in this room do. Probably. But I need to know. Sarah, lick the bindings. You've already done it once, so what's one more time? One more time will seriously make me sick. Please, on night, let us ask one of the Cyanus employees on standby to analyze it. They have a record for very fast turnarounds at DNA tests, I promise. I can show you customer reviews. That's right, Cyanus does DNA testing. Typically, paternity tests is part of their private investigative services. But they have been assisting police with DNA analysis around the scene. I will flag the bindings to be analyzed. Wait. I've already made the request, hadn't I? If you insist on making me test the bindings myself now, you will only be upsetting my stomach to satisfy your own impatience. Fine. I'm gonna cite this incident the next time we discuss arrays. Really is a shithole in here, though, huh? I agree with your sentiment, if not your choice of words. It feels like a cruel place. What is it? Was there something we missed in here on night? No, not in here. The windows. They were closed when Creek was shot, still closed when Chopin and Rogers arrived on site. But they were open by the time Rogers got to this room. He used the contradiction to argue for the presence of a third party. Because someone must have opened them? Go down the fire escape. And then what? They must have dropped down to the alley and ran away, right? Yeah. That's one option. What's the other? The other is that that's how they got into the room? That's what I was thinking. Because isn't that where he's like Roger said he was? He wasn't on the same floor. What? I gotta figure out why. I'm pretty sure that's what we're leaning towards. Would it kill them to do some sweeping around here? I guess that would be contaminating the crime scene at this point. But then what the hell do all these cops and Cyanus chumps actually do? Lean on walls and screw around on their phones? I think you're being a bit harsh in your assessment. But you aren't alone in your criticism. Detective Reyes had much to say about how Cyanus employees were not wearing gloves and knocking over trash. If they had picked up trash, they'd be removing evidence from the arcs. Would be removing evidence. The arcs would light up. Adding trash, though. Hadn't I? Let me look through this. Garbage again? Already? Just start looking. And if any of it requires DNA analysis. Wait, there. Red. I don't smell any blood. Not blood. Ink. A torn page of the red ink document. With what looks like a shoe print on it. Ah. Shall we try to match its samples? Good luck. Cops and security types all wear the same kind of boots. On top of which, 99 out of 100 shoes in the city are made by the same two megs. But the print isn't useful, then that just leaves the actual text, and that looks like the letters we all ran through. Looks like the letters were all run through the watch a couple dozen too many times. Well, it isn't particularly informative, and I don't understand exactly how this clue fits in with everything else we've seen. But doesn't it seem important? How could it have been lying here, neglected this whole time? Nah, princess, I'll have to call you right back. Of course, wouldn't dream of it. Come on, you know me. What'd you find there? More dead men's garbage? Keep it up and you girls are gonna make me look bad. Happy to be of assistance. So would you like to add this to the arcs, or should I? Well, it seems like you've got momentum going, so... please don't let me get in your way. You don't wear gloves on the job, Miss Han. It's just Han. But you already know that. You probably also know that they don't really make them in my size. So if we found your fingerprints in here, on those windows, or even upstairs... oh man, I'd be pretty embarrassed. We almost always get rated 5 stars. So did you need me to walk you out? I'll be fine, thanks. Suit yourself. Just be careful you don't get lost. The sun will be going down soon. It could be hard to find your way back in the dark. Yeah, okay. This idea is starting to look like a pretty safe bet. Your theory that Chopin was assassinated as an attack on the Old Guard? But how can we confirm it? We still haven't met anyone from the Old Guard. So even if we had, it occurs to me they would be reluctant to speak with Sosuke Ikaraya's legal team. Don't be so pessimistic. The enemy of my enemy is usually willing to at least talk. And talk is where I do all my best work. Where do we look then? You still got the address boss gave us? I think that's a pretty good stopping point. Blue blood character, so we're still down here. Okay. Alright, we're gonna stop here. Alright. I think that's a pretty good stopping point. Looking over the crime scene, we did pick up a few little details. Sorry, I'm stretching. Yeah, there's a bit to think about. The window is interesting. I think it wasn't used as an escape, but used as an entry point, maybe? And that would explain why there is a shoe print by the window. The knife being down. The knife also could have been dropped out the window, because it's right under the fire escape. So probably it was either used as an entry or used as a way to get rid of evidence. There's the alarm, which someone would have to have an app to pick up that frequency, or if not, be like an ad or like a modded. So that could explain how Chopin knew about the incident, was if he also had the app. I don't remember if there was if Rogers testified to him looking at something on his phone. That's something to consider. The knife being charred and having blood of 3 possible people, one I'm already marking off, so either Sosuke's or Rogers. I think we're starting to piece. We got a lot of pieces from that. Where we are now, I have no idea. So let's we're gonna wrap it up there. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.